What's up, everyone? I thought I'd make another video as well. Fuck it, just to kind of build up. So today's video is going to be about money, wage versus career title. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that let's say you have a career title where you're a team leader, but the company you work for is not all that. So okay, let's see you, for example, McDonald's, or let's say Boots or Tesco's. Yeah, fuck it, let's say McDonald's, because McDonald's seems to be one of the most out there jobs. So you're a team leader at McDonald's, but your wage is not up to par. But then let's say up against it's just a person that works your normal basic wage. Uh, let's say he's a fucking, I don't know, ticket inspector. Okay, let's say he's a ticket inspector, and then let's say, for example, his wage is like surpassed the fucking team leader and is just a little bit more higher than the manager, so to speak, than the managerial job. Okay, what's greater? How do you benefit from it? Which path should you go down? And because reason why I say this is so let's say, I mean, me personally, I've worked on a railway for since 2012, so quite a lot of years, and it is hard to kind of rise up in the railway, but the railway does pay well. Yeah, so the railway pays well to an extent, but it's hard to get up the career ladder. Yeah, because the railway, whether you want to believe it or not, the railway, there is some form of corruption there. People are picky and choosy depending on how far you get. Okay, you're given very limited opportunity to get up the career ladder because there are people that say him. I mean, why I say him because there's hardly any women on the railway. Fact. Um, so you got that versus, let's say, someone who works in your menial retail job, but then yet their career title is, is getting up there. Which is greater in the long run? Like, which is greater overall? Me personally, it's tough. It's a tough question because I personally feel that the money side of things pays off, because when you have the money side of things, you're able to save up depending on how you manage your money management and how you go about with your finances. If you do have the income to back whatever it is that you want, you could create your own job. You could go self-employed. You could start your own business and you can persevere and go forward. The second thing, you can also invest your money and try to flip your investment to make it a bit more profitable for you in the long run. But it all depends on how you work your money and if it pays off for you in the long run. Because if it doesn't pay off for you in the long run, then you're fucked. Then you're in a situation where the competition on the job market may hit you quite hard depending on how you go about with it. Uh, and then obviously versus the job title. So I mean, let's put it this way: if you're a manager of McDonald's, likelihood you could become a manager of, let's say, Starbucks, or let's say Sainsbury's or Tesco, some of these supermarkets, or even maybe for even at an airport, depending on how you go about it in the interview, depending on if you are what they're looking for. It depends on how they value a managerial position in that sort of job sector that you're in. If you're just going to stick to retail, personally, retail is probably not going to last for that long. Because if you're in retail, then they're going to be determining how you are via your customer service. Because Amazon is pretty much wiping out majority of these retail stores anyway. 10 years from now, a lot of people are going to be going digitalized. So the retail store section is slowly going to die out. Because it's not that people do not want to go into shops. It's just that we are living more into a digitalized age day by day, where you can go online, you can find anything you want. You ain't got to go to a shop to think to yourself, oh, is this going to be here? Is this what I'm looking for? Blah, 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 blah. You could just go onto the website that creates and manufactures these sort of things, and then you could just buy it outright, and then whoever is delivering it delivers it to your address whilst you're at work. It's a tough situation depending on which job sector you're in. I mean, if you're in the travel industry like I am, if you become a team leader in the travel industry, that's very good. It's very good. It's something that is a feather in your cap for later on, because if you're in the travel industry, your customer service has to be on point. Because you're dealing with people of the country. You don't know who they are. They could be judges. They could be lawyers. They could be fucking bank managers, they could be PMs, well, no, it's not PMs, MPs, they could be all sorts, tourists, you name it. That that then and there sort of paves the picture for if you apply for a job and then they look at it as okay, this person's the team leader of this travel industry, whether it be through buses, trains, airports, whatever. They kind of have an idea that this person's customer service is somewhat of high value because of the sector that they were in. But then it's one of those things where the money that you acquire from that, is it going to be better off in the long and depending on what you do with it? I mean, if you want to get a mortgage and your job title is not, so to speak, up there, that you run the risk of fucking up your mortgage because at the end of the day, it's like if you're a manager and you go for managerial roles, which there's a majority of jobs out there that is looking for managerial roles, you could probably be alright. But if you don't have the managerial background of the job title, you're fucked because at the end of the day, a company's going to take anyone and say, okay, there you go, play manager. Just play manager. Let me see what you got. Let me see what you're made of. So yeah, it's a pretty of a tricky situation. It was brainstorming in my head, and I spoke about it with a few people, and it's tough. I mean, for me, in regards to my money situation, I've got some money, but at the same time, it's like I have to be really clever on how I'm going to go about it. Because the railway, you can get made redundant. Yes, we have unions and stuff, but at the same time, it is worrying because it's not like I work in a retail store where it's small and I can become a team leader of that store. It doesn't, so to speak, work like that. On the railway, you have sometimes three, maybe six team leaders. But these are people that's been on a railway for X amount of years and have got all this experience, moment, their time to jump in to get that team leader position. But the hardest part about some of these job sectors when you're a team leader is that the high demand for success is there. If for people that's worked in retail, you are given targets to sell amount of merchandise or products, whatever it is, to a certain number. When you don't reach that number, that's when the area manager turns up. What the fuck is going on here? And the area manager has to do with that. Now, if you're an area manager, then you're laughing because then that's when you start making the big paydays. That's when you start making the big money, depending on how you go about with it. Now, I went from being a bouncer to working on the railway. I was quite surprised of how I managed to accomplish that. To be really fairly honest with you, um, because I didn't think I would ever make it on the railway. I didn't think I could ever become a guy that works on the railway. But the manager looked at me in a sense of this is the guy that can deal with conflict in situations because of his security background. And that is true. Like being a bouncer, you're able to deal with drunken behavior, you're able to deal with violent behavior, and people that sometimes do want to scrap. And when you're able to compose yourself and handle yourself and deal with some situations accordingly without any form of violence happening on the railway, they look upon it as customer service, reputation, etc. Most of these people that work in retail stores that are team leaders don't understand that. They just understand about selling products and merchandise and how to sell things. But then they're not, so to speak, salesmen, if that makes sense. They scan shit. There you go. Here's your receipt. Goodbye. But they know they're a team leader based off a company's policy, not so to speak. So let's say not so to speak skills. Like I personally, not to be big headed. I know I got a big head, but not to be big headed. But I feel like I've got better customer service than some of these team leaders out here in some of these retail stores. That's just the way it is. I just feel like I'm a bit more thick skinned into dealing with such customers out there who, you got team leaders out there that have this sort of egotistic mindset where they feel like they can handle anything. But sometimes that's not, so to speak, the case because sometimes you do have drama queens in some of these workplaces. I'm quite clever in regards to separating personal shit from policy. What's going on there? Fucking hell. Yeah, sorry about that. Personal shit from policy. That's something that people need to understand and realize. What's the time? Yeah, personal stuff from policy. Now, my advice going forward for people who may want to lean towards, I just want to get the money to buy us and go. Okay, if you get the money, you need to realize that you're going to need to somehow flip your investment to be able to be accumulate some form of an income later on in life, depending on what you want to do. You can't just laying back on the money and think the money's just gonna go for you and it's just gonna fucking, you have to try and flip it. You have to invest into something, whether it be property, stocks and shares, fuck it, cryptocurrency. Don't gamble it. Don't gamble the money that you have without a job title. Because your job title, let's say you work in Starbucks, and Starbucks is all you are is just a person that works on the till, and you make a considerable more amount of money, yeah, than let's say the team leader in fucking Costa. That's true, but then at the same time, like anyone could really work your job. It's just the only difference is your wage is a lot higher. But you have to bear that in mind that maybe your job won't always be there. Starbucks and majority of these big companies are so big, they're greedy. You know what I mean? They'll do whatever they can to make the business a bit more simplistic for the consumer. McDonald's, you have now you can just order it from the fucking screen. You don't need to go to the till anymore. Is it effective? Yeah, it is. I believe it's more effective than anything. Supermarkets, you've got self checkouts now. What does that say to you people? It's tough in that sense, so you kind of have to adapt with the times and try and your best to go forward. You know, so if you're going for it for the money, invest your money carefully. Save, always save. I don't care a shit if you're a minimum wage. Save 50 quid a month if you can. Save 20 quid a month. Do it via an ISA if you can. You have to, or put it in a little box of cash and save it. Yeah, you have to. If you're in this for the money, you gotta save. Now, okay. Now, if you're in this for the job title, your main thing you gotta look at, yeah, depending on what job you're in, your best thing to do is to talk and find out how the industry works. Find out how the industry works. Find out how fast you can move on up, and then once you get up, just have your main focus. Don't get too comfortable in that job. Your main focus is to keep persevering and pushing, even if you have to read the fucking policies, yeah, of that job. And there's a large book. Read it. Read it, because at the same time, once you read it, it will better off you in the future. Because the people above you and above the managers or team leaders or whatever, they'll respect that your passion for that company, your passion for that job is great. We want someone like that on board. We want someone like that amongst us who wants to continue to persevere. That's what you have to bear that in mind. So once you're in a job, listen, fuck the whole wanted to pass the probation stage. Once you get there, your main focus is on just advancing. Just advance, and continue to advance the best way that you can. Don't get too comfortable. Don't get too complacent in your job, bro. Okay? If you work in a small store somewhere, yeah, whether it be a Metro Tesco, or a Sainsbury's, or let's say JD Sports or Foot Locker, your main thing is once you get there, just try your best to advance forward. Fuck being like, oh, I'm going to be here for a few years, then I'm going to go for another job. You might as well just try and advance yourself the best way you can to get a good job title. Because in some of these stores, going for it for just the money ain't going to cut it. It ain't going to cut it, so to speak. I mean, if you work in a bank, that's a bit different. I mean, some of the bankers were getting laid off, which was surprising, because a bank is a bank. But at the same time, it can be quite shocking to some people of how these jobs can just replace you like that. The main thing to getting ahead is to possibly go and start setting up your own business, setting up your own path. It's like me. I do photography. The photography side of things. I mean, it's challenging depending on how you go about with your business, because with photography you can always evolve yourself. You can be a photographer, a videographer. You can do all sorts of great artistic, creative things and put it online and put it on the web, and it can somewhat turn into more of a money making thing. Like most of these photographers that I've looked at, I'm impressed by how they've managed to go from just doing photography and then starting to create merchandise from using the imagery from their photography. I gotta give them respect for that, and then they've managed to build their own brand and, and go about their own way. Gotta give them credit. I gotta give them a lot of respect, because not that many people can do that. Not that many get past that first level. Many people just give up. So you kind of have to create little jobs if you're just in it for the money. Yeah, like personally, when I look back, I think, should I have continued to try and then go for a job title's sake? Sometimes, I ain't gonna lie to you, sometimes I think to myself, well, if I went with it through job title, where would I be now? You know, would I, would I be satisfied of how I am now to versus to, you know, the money that I make? I don't know. I'm 50-50 on it. You know, I do think that I'm glad of the money I have made because I managed to travel. I've managed to create some form of an audience through my photography and through people around me and people that listen to my experiences from traveling around the world and stuff like that. Got to give them credit. I will continue to travel the world, but it depends on how you look upon life and what life is to you. You know, do you just want to stay in the UK and just want to, you know, work it out and see what happens along the lines, or do you want to go out there and kind of experience things? And you know, when you're laying on your deathbed, will you be satisfied from everything you did? Like, so for example, if you're on your deathbed and you think to yourself, "Wow, well, I was a team leader, I was a manager of Starbucks. I was a manager of Starbucks, and then that was it. I couldn't get any higher because opportunities were limited, you know. But then they worked for about 10 years trying to become a manager of Starbucks. But then in the end, was it worth it? Did you get the pleasures, the benefits from working for a company like Starbucks? I'm not shitting on Starbucks, but I'm just saying, as a form of an example, you know, Starbucks is a great stepping stone because it's a respectable company. You know, fair play to Starbucks. You know, nice frappuccinos they got. Um, but then if you work for a company that you are satisfied and you feel is somewhat deserves of some form of respect, then hey, go for it, man. Like I work for the railway, yeah, and the railway, yeah, I respect the industry of it to an extent, not fully, but I respect it because of the job for what it is. But then I don't respect it from the corruption and the political side of it because there's a lot of corruption. Hey, the railway in the UK has a lot of unions for a reason. Um, there is discrimination in some forms of the railway, but the money that you acquire from the railway is sufficient enough to reinvest it into something to kind of help you get ahead, whatever it may be. The property market in the UK, especially in London, the railway, if you're a metro manager of the railway, so you're above the area manager, then yeah, you probably be able to get a mortgage over here and really do well. But if you're just a general manager, um, over here, they ain't gonna cut it. You know, the ticket office on the railway, they pay more than the manager does. But then again, what you kind of have to understand is the ticket office industry on the railway is done. But then when they leave, are they really gonna want to accept a lower wage working in like a supermarket? It's still cash handling at the end of the day. Are they really going to be satisfied working in, let's say, a betting shop or other places that deal with cash handling? There's only so many amount of bank jobs going about, but then at the end of the day, even the banking industry, they're maybe dropping workers because people are just getting more digitalized. Obviously, there's online banking. There'll be other departments for that. This is the point. Sometimes is the job title in the end run worth it? Because sometimes some of these jobs they change very quickly. You look at Blockbuster. Yeah, imagine if you're a manager at Blockbuster at one point, or yeah, when you yeah, Blockbuster, whoever thought Blockbuster would ever close? But you look at Netflix, and Netflix just wiped them out. You know, CEX or Game Station back in the day, you'd go in the shop and buy games and stuff. But now everything is on the online marketplace. It's but then if you're a manager of Game Station, you would then have to change it up and then go elsewhere. But will they take anyone in? Oh, what manager was you from? I was a manager at Game Station. Oh, okay, what happened? You sold video games? Yeah. Okay. This, well, we do with things a little bit different over here, you know. And then maybe they would think that a manager from a game shop wouldn't be suitable for a manager working in that industry. It's a total different, you know, mindset depending on which company you want to sway towards. It's very, you know, so I don't know. I'm 50-50 on this question. Job title versus wage you get from a job. You know, I do think, I don't know, man. I'm so 50-50 on it. But I think, you know, in my position, the wage that I'm on right now, I want to reinvest it. I have invested my money in some regard, but I am trying to get onto some form of property. Not over here though, over elsewhere. But hopefully I'll be okay money wise. The one thing I do not want to do, I do not want to live month to month wage wise, because in a way that's like a financial prison or like a financial enslavement to a company that could just drop you like that. I rather have some form of flexibility of money where you're not living so much like a pet, living in it to a regular standard, to a certain standard where later on you can be like, okay, I've got all this money, what do I do with it? You know what I mean? Now the investments that I made, will they flip? I don't know. Depends on how certain parts in this world, if it goes a certain direction, we shall see. You know. But I hope this video has caused some form of motivation for you. I hope this video has kind of made you rethink about your job title, made you rethink of how much your savings, made you rethink about what you're going to do with your life in regards to your money situation. I mean, it's all good and well endowed, you working in a retail shop and you're making enough money just to provide for your family, but then at the same time, you have to think about the longevity of it. You know, do you want to start your own business where everything relies on you in regards to the growth of that business, where it takes it to the next level? You know, me personally, I do wish I had a lot more positive people in my life to help me, to motivate me, and help me to other directions that I want to go, because I do feel like I'm a hard worker. I do feel like an individual that can offer something to someone in regards to expand as a business or anything like this, because I'm always coming up with ideas all the time, mate, all the time. In regards to, what the next topic of the video, I'm not too sure yet, but I just thought this was brainstorming in my brain, and I would like your people's thoughts of it. Job title versus general wage. What's your take on it? I want to know. So yeah, much love, peace, love and harmony. Love thy neighbor. I don't discriminate. And yeah, always remember, life is just a ride.